Hi, welcome to Building Communities. I'm Elizabeth Phillips. Today we're in Taos, New Mexico to visit a community called the Greater World. We'll tour homes and construction sites there, and we'll talk with their innovative creator, architect Michael Reynolds. Reynolds has quite a vision. His unique design of homes he calls Earthships take care of their occupants and supply them with all their energy needs without being connected to traditional utility companies. And in another worldly kind of way, the Earthship interiors lift the human spirit. We are in for a treat today. Let's go. I'm accompanied by my niece and her husband. We head northwest of the city towards the Greater World community, which sits on over 600 acres of rolling mesa near the Rio Grande Gorge. We know we're approaching the community as we see the nestled into the ground Earthship dwellings. We'll hear shortly from Michael Reynolds. We begin our tour with a stop at his office. An important aspect of Earthship construction is the berming of earth on 3 of its sides, as shown here, which maximizes its ability to heat and cool by using the natural interaction with the earth. The roof catches rainwater and snowmelt for home use after it's filtered, and power is supplied to the house by a wind generator and solar panels, which is stored in batteries. No conventional hookup to centralized utilities here. Let's go inside. Every interior has large planters where water is recirculated several times in a system that filters and reuses water. Each planter sits along a south wall of glass, part of the Earthship design that works with nature to help create an environment that is comfortable year-round and where the owner can benefit from some serious food production. For over 30 years, Michael Reynolds has researched and developed the use of tires and cans in building construction. Recycled automobile tires are rammed with earth to form an earthen brick, each one 400 pounds encased in steel-belted rubber. This automobile tire brick is then used to construct the virtually indestructible bearing walls and also makes excellent thermal mass. The tire walls are then beautifully finished with mud plaster and paint. This is the waterfall that helps aerate the home's water storage system. His office, shown here, represents Michael's ever-evolving research, design, and development of sustainable housing. It provides the visitor a thorough introduction to every aspect of Earthships and offers a variety of building services and information. First question, of course, what brought him to New Mexico, and what inspired this type of building?
I came out here to New Mexico right after architectural school. My thesis was on housing. I was into having people participate in their housing. I loved it out here, and it was way different than I was raised back east in Kentucky and Indiana and went to school in Cincinnati. And there was just so much more room out here and so much more of the planet to see without the effects of people. At that time I started basically responding to the news. There would be talk, even in those days, early 70s, of the beginnings of garbage problems and clear-cutting timber and things like that, rising cost of housing and so on. So this is before energy crunches, before water shortages, you know, that were significant at least. And so at one point I responding to Charles Corrald on the road doing a piece on beer cans and soda cans being thrown all over the streets and highways. And Walter Cronkite on the same show doing a piece on clear-cutting timber in the Northwest, predicting a rising cost of lumber and housing shortage even. And Charles Corrald predicted a garbage problem in the future. Well, a few weeks after that show, I was sort of unconsciously, but just responding, and I found myself making a little building block out of beer cans. So that was a way to get buildings built without trees and a way to get rid of the cans that were plaguing the planet. So it just was I would even call it a contrived little effort. But nevertheless, I pursued it and ended up building quite a few buildings made of beer cans. They were beer can buildings. They were, you know, the newspapers took it sort of as a unique, crazy thing. One step above just hippie housing and stuff like that, and but I was in the mode of okay, using byproducts of our society to build with, just seeing if that was viable. And then things just kept happening in the news. The energy crunch hits, and a lot of the scientists are talking about building thermal mass into houses. And I was already in the frame of mind to look at byproducts of our society to build with, so I found myself looking at what's a way to get thermal mass into a house and still use byproducts of our society, and I ended up with automobile tires. There's literally millions of automobile tires, more automobile tires than trees actually on this planet now. And so I started stuffing dirt into them and ended up beating dirt into them and creating this brick, and it turns out over the years to have evolved into a fantastic way to build. It's resilient for earthquakes, it's found all over the planet, it's low tech, it makes thermal mass, it makes good structure. So it turned out to be really good. So here I am taking the recycling of cans idea and pushing it just a little further into building buildings that, not only building buildings, but building buildings that embody energy. Because if buildings embody energy, then you need less energy to run them. A typical frame house embodies no energy. It's just a shelter. And so it's a matter of physics that you learn about a building storing energy. And slowly, more things kept happening. The energy crunch gets worse, so we start trying to build electricity into the houses, start hearing about water shortages all over the planet, especially in New Mexico. Part of the water issue is sewage going into the rivers and streams and aquifers, so we tried to make the buildings contain their own sewage, and because there was a lot of information or stress really in the news about sewage. You know, this is over a period of a couple of decades. We found ourselves making absolutely independent housing. Where did it get started? It sort of happened little by little as a result of basically responding to the news. It's not like it was a light bulb that went on and I'm going to make sustainable housing. It was like over the years, over the months and years, it's just, well, this is not going to work forever. It's clear to see that people are in a lot of stress themselves due to the way they live, and they're imposing that stress on each other and the planet. So I thought that, then I started going, whoa, this is something worth thinking about. What I'm saying is I kind of stumbled into this as a result of just responding. And then when I really realized where I was, I started thinking, well, this is really important, because if we were able to remove the stress from people in terms of how they live and what they have to give of themselves to exist, and in terms of what they have to take from the planet to exist, if we're able to eliminate a lot of that stress, then the world's going to be a better place. It's not like we can come up with a religion or a way that people should be, or a set of rules or a set of laws. I think if you simply remove stress, people will be much better.
Reynolds' assistant, Kirsten, is a do-it-yourself builder. She shows us the progress she has made in building her own Earthship.
This is how my house started. Very small and very modest. Well, it's not really a house there.
It's a start.
And then this is actually not last year. This is 2 years ago. I had built this one room, pounded tires, and a double ferro cement dome with insulation in between.
You did a lot of the work yourself?
Almost all of it.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. And then
gal power.
It's hard to see here, but then, okay. So here's the next kind of step. I built these big retaining walls. And I got a solar panel. You can see my kitchen is outside and my scaffolding and everything. And then this is a little harder to see, but and you can't even see the dome anymore because I did this huge addition to it last year. The dome was 120 square feet, and I added 457 square feet. So I like quadrupled the size of my space, and
That's
it's still
great.
under construction. So
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, yeah.
You're doing it.
yeah,
Great.
so
Congratulations.
thanks.
Now we're off to tour 5 Earthship designs. First on our list, the Nautilus, a design based on the spiral of all life. Looks alien, you say? Well, we felt we had entered another world, but one of peaceful, cozy comfort that elevates our spirits. Earthships use many natural materials inside and out.
Sleeping loft up here.
Oh, there is?
Sinks and baths usually sit along the south wall, where they drain their gray water into the Earthship water recirculating system.
I'm seeing plants in the desert making bananas in a living room at 7,000 feet in the winter, and eating sewage at the same time. And knowing that that could mean, if it got evolved to the point and understood to the point where lots of people could do it, that would mean no more sewage in rivers and streams. That would mean people are you know, I don't even like the way people talk about reducing your effect on the planet and environmentalists and all of that. It's just pure logic. It's like you're here, and there's 6 billion of you here, and you've got to apply some logic to how much longer this ball can support, how many more people. And if everyone was to simply, every building was to consume its own sewage, that would be huge. That would be magnificent. Then if every building made its own power and heated and cooled itself and caught its own water rather than sucking the water out of the aquifers. I mean, the ramifications of just how people live in their own little units could affect things in an unbelievable way. Ultimately, it would affect the minds and hearts of people.
Hey, Aunt Betty, there's a whole section over there of the house. What's in it?
It's probably the water tank.
Oh, it's the water tank. That makes sense. Do you have the key?
He's right in the door.
One last part of the Nautilus you must see is the roof, where that fresh rainwater and snowmelt is captured for use inside. The Nautilus, Some overnight guests have said the best part was the perfect quiet for blissful sleep.